Welcome back. So it's been three and a half weeks since the last update. I decided to get a lot of stuff done off camera, just to get this process moved along. So I think we're at a really good point now with this interior remodel. I can go ahead and update you and show you what all the changes and everything, and then we can finally move on to some, well, real quote real projects. So at any rate, I'll get you turned around here and then we can get started. So of course you saw this, I believe. I've just kind of thrown more stuff up here, and that's kind of about the same as what you've seen before. I did add some extension cord hangers, and so these are just some standard little hangers with this little plastic over the metal, and I just put some 2x4s in to my existing shelf that I believe I showed as well already. And so I just screwed in some construction screws in through the ends here and some longer ones at an angle there. And so that was just, I mean, these don't need to hold much weight, obviously. These are just cords that are, you know, maybe that's the heaviest one right there. That's, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds, maybe. It's not a lot, so. But that's much better organization for my extension cords instead of piled on the floor or, you know, on a table in the way. Now they're out of the way, so that's nice. And I'll show you something I did outside really quick, which sort of plays into the whole reorganization, because a lot of this stuff had to come from inside and go somewhere. And so I've let my OCD organize all of this, all these yard tools. This is most of my yard tools. There's still some more that are in the shed, but at least this takes care of almost everything. A good portion of it, I should say. And then I also added my, I brought the sawhorses out here as well. So that's out of the way because that was also inside taking up space. So table saws out here. This is a good spot for it. I mean, it doesn't get rained on or anything here, so no big deal. That gets used outside anyways, so you know, it's just easier with it already being out here instead of having to haul it in and out through this door, which it barely even fit through this doorway. It was kind of a pain to get in and out, so it's nicer to have it out there. And that's about it for this room. I mean, there was some minor, you know, organization stuff, but the big difference is going to be in here. So here, like I promised, this is the Midasol station moved, and I like it in this spot a lot better. That shelf, which I had previously taken down, I've got back up on the wall in almost the same spot. The only difference is I've put it on a French cleat that can be, you know, moved around if needed. Like I could move it to up there or over here, and so it could just, that's why I like French cleats. I've said that so many times already. So that's over there. That worked out good. And then I cleaned off the bottom of this shelf. Obviously it was kind of, had a bunch of wood. I cleaned out these bins and kind of made, this bin is specifically for pine, and this bin is going to be for any hardwoods, small chunks. So that's better, much better organized. And then on this side, this is just a small amount of the framing kind of lumber, because sometimes, you know, having little blocks like this are useful for some things in here. And so I do have that whole stack outside that I've shown previously. Now most of it lives out there now, but just having a few in here for easy access is good. And then this is going to be pine, just bigger boards, mostly, and some longer pieces. And so I'm not 100% done with what I'm going to do with organizing the wood in here. I'm still kind of figuring it out, what works and what doesn't work, but this is at least better organized for now. And so it's, you know, we'll just see how that goes. And I built this, which holds all my saw blades now. They used to go, most of them fit in this, which was attached to the side of that. So I didn't like how that was. I mean, it worked for a little while, but it just, the way that held saw blades, it's not ideal. So this got repurposed into wood storage. So it's mainly for longer, some stuff that's sort of long, but not too long. I don't know how to better describe it other than that. This is about the longest I would want to put anything in here, and that's almost kind of too long. but that's poplar there, and that's maple there. And so it's decent for smaller and flatter wood storage. But anyways, going back to this, I just recently finished this, and this is just going to be much better for storing saw blades. I just like it a whole lot better than that other wood container. So, and this was pretty simple. It's just some dowels, and I drilled holes. And what I did was I first of all laid out most of my blades, and I knew what I wanted was 12-inch, 10-inch, and then everything else below that. So I just kind of laid them out on the board, on the plywood, and got my measurements, and then made the strips, drilled the holes all the way through these strips with the drill press. And then these are like 5/8 right here. Those are 3/4 inch dowels up there, and these are 1/4 inch down here. So drilled through these strips all the way through on the drill press, and then attached it with glue, staples, and then a couple screws on each one. I mean, the screws are mainly just to make sure it's held really well for the glue to dry. The staples, I like to do that first so that it's in place and doesn't move, because I've explained before how brad nails or staples are perfect for getting the wood in place with the glue, and then you can use your whatever other attachments that you need, like the screws, because if you just try to screw down with glue in between there, it'll 99.9% of the time it'll move around on you. So that's all the staples were there for, to prevent that from happening. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if my dado stack is going to stay here or not. This was just kind of thrown here for now. It's saw blades, so it does kind of fit the area. It's just I didn't really particularly make a spot for that on the board, so I don't know. We'll see. Okay, moving along into this area, I added a retractable hose reel. It's a 50-foot instead of using just a standard hose that always ends up all over the floor and tripping on it nonstop, and it's just a pain. Obviously I'm keeping the hose because it can be useful in the future for something, especially since I've got the pancake compressor. I mean, this can be used with that. It can still be used with this. If I do any projects on the outside, again, I can connect that hose to this hose and have a longer hose, so it'll stay there where I've already had this that I built a long time ago for it, so it fits there perfect. So, but yeah, this will be super nice to have now. Oh, and the cabinet, the third cabinet I put up here, there's a French cleat that goes all the way from there all the way down. And so this is on a French cleat, that's on a French cleat up there, because I originally had this cabinet over there and I did not like it there. So it's over here, and it just flows a whole lot better being right here. And then I built this shelf. So not 100% sure what this is going to be used for yet. I can do, dowels in there if I need to, or whatever. Stuff can be stored on top. It was just something that I knew I wanted here, and it's going to be figured out, over time. It's just one of those things. So moving over to here, I know I mentioned that I was going to dismantle this previously, but there's a couple of things I've changed my mind on. That was one of them, and I just didn't want to do that right now. I wanted to kind of repurpose as many things as possible, because just to save money, save time, all that. So as you can see, it has been repurposed down here for wood storage, and this is going to be all plywood. All plywood is going to go down here. Anything that's really too big to be in the plywood storage outside, that's in the room out there, which is really mostly full sheets and stuff along that wall. So anything that's too small for that, but kind of a little bit bigger than like tiny stuff like this. So kind of that's just what this can be used for. So, and then up here, I haven't really done too much different in this section. This is kind of all the same. Eventually I am going to build something for drill bits and router bits and all that kind of stuff, because I do not like having this situation that I have right now, basically. I mean, I've got stuff everywhere here and bits, and I don't like it. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna solve that, but that will be solved at some point. It's just for right now. I'm ready to get started on some other projects, and the continued organization will happen over time. So moving on, up here, I bought a bunch of these, which are little storage bins and dividers. And so I had these sitting in here waiting to be used because I bought them a few months ago, and I knew I was going to be using them for this, which is hardware storage. So I've got all kinds of different hardware, and that is used. I mean, these are bolts, and some of these are lag screws in here as well. And then this has, other things, like shelf hardware and picture frame hardware, hooks, and then over here I've got like my staples and brad nails, biscuits, dowels. So this is just a million times better than how I had it before, which was like basically all this hardware was in random boxes or in random storage containers like these right here. These were like full of like random stuff in different places, and it was basically, if I wanted to find hardware or anything like this kind of stuff, the hooks, the different hooks that you can have, picture frame hardware stuff, it was like in 4 different places, and that is infuriating to deal with, because then you're trying to remember, well, do I have this there? And then you got to go check there, and then no, not there, you got to go check here, and it's a massive pain. This is something that's gonna be so nice. So basically that's all mostly here. I've got a bunch of like multi-kits up here because there's just always something that you don't have. I don't know. It's just, I've got a bunch of multi-kits as well. So there's that. And then on top of it, on top we've got just vacuum cleaner stuff. I don't know if there's gonna be anything else that goes up there or not. So we'll see about that. The paintbrushes, I still have to figure out. I don't necessarily like having them up here anymore. I kind of wanted them in a drawer, but again, it's one of those things I will figure out over time. It's not going to be done right now immediately. So moving on, we can see the bottom of this is mostly cleared off. I do have a little bit of plywood. So over here is going to be good plywood, which is cabinet grade or better. And this is going to be sheathing plywood, which is what's going to go underneath this cart. This is a rolling table, so it can be rolled around, which is nice. And it's also the same exact height as my workbench here, so it can double as like an addition to this workbench if I need like something extra long worked on or whatever. So, but yeah, sheathing grade plywood will be under there. And then my workbench, which is now here, I think this works out super well because these were already up here before. It was just behind the miter saw, on the wall behind it. So this just works out even better, having my actual workbench right here, right beside all my saws and hammers that get used a lot, rulers, straight edges, all that. So that's nice. Small table saw lives down here for now. That's possibly where it's going to stay. We'll just see how that goes, and take it from there. And then this table just got kind of moved down, so nothing big there. And this router table is still here for now, but this is going to change. So what I'm going to be building is a rolling cabinet that router is going to fit on. The cabinet's going to go here, and it will be a rolling cabinet, so it can be moved around. And so the router will be on one side of it, and then this jointer will be on the other side of it. And so what's going to look like is they will both sit by default long ways this way. So like this router table will be turned this way by default, sitting here. I don't know if I'm describing it well, but like the router table will be this way. Joiner planer will be this way, and then that's how this will sit when I'm not using it, and it'll be just slightly further out from the wall than what that table is now. I'm not going to be using that table. And then so when I'm ready to use either one, I mean, you're obviously not going to be using both at the same time. When I'm ready to use either one, I just simply roll it out, like roll it out from the wall this way and then turn whichever one I'm using out and then push it against the wall and use it. So that way, several things are solved with that. First of all, I have a rolling table for 2 pieces of equipment, which is nice. Second of all, with it pulled out from the wall a little bit, if you see how this router is now with this, with my scroll saw, you can't really put anything too wide, too long for that table, otherwise it's going to hit that. So with this table, it would be far out just enough to clear the scroll saw to where when you're feeding like a long board in, so that'll help. Left the clamps, here on the wall. It's kind of working. I mean, again, that's one of those things that could be improved, but is not really imperative to be improved right now. So most of the clamps are there. We've got more down here, just various kinds. And so, over time that may get changed or it just may stay this way. I don't know. Not worried about it right now. This rolling cart will probably live here until it's needed. So like as it's needed, it'll be rolled out and used, whatnot. And then this big workbench, which I did previously mention I was going to cut up, get rid of. I have decided to keep it, again, for the same reason I'm keeping that. And that's because I really want to repurpose, reuse as much as possible, and just to save money and to save time on building things and things like that. And there's another reason too, and even though I did say that this table is too tall, which it technically is for doing some things, it's as big as it is and as high as it is, it's perfect for some things. Like if I'm trying to work on something like designing, just drawing something, or just working on something small, like I was for those organizers, all those brown labels, those were cut out of what's it called? Chipboard. That's what it is. Chipboard, CHIP. And so it's kind of like cardboard. It's just a flat piece of paper. And I was cutting that with my X-Acto knife. And that's like, it's perfect doing that on this workbench because it's taller, so it's higher. It's easier for me to get to. Like it's like waist high. So it works good for that. Also, the top is crappy. I mean, it's been used over the years. So I don't care if I'm cutting on this with the razor blade. Like I really don't care if I'm going to be cutting into that. This one, on the other hand, I prefer to keep this top as nice as possible to an extent. Now I did seal it so that if you get glue on it, it'll just pop off easily. And you can also just take the top off and put a new one on it. It's just screwed in. It's not glued. But I prefer to keep it as nice as possible for as long as possible, and the main reason is it's perfectly flat, or very flat, I should say. And so if I'm trying to do glue ups or anything that need to be somewhat precise, this table works perfect, whereas this table, not so great because it's sheathing quality. Plywood, it's got bumps, it's got glue on it, paint on it everywhere. So at any rate, moving on to the next thing, bench vise. I bought this cheap-ish bench vise, and it's pretty good. So it did not come with the jaws. Well, these oak jaws. I put these on here. I had some oak out there. I just cut it down, sanded it up, and it was pretty straightforward. So I just put some screws in on this side that I had. This did not come with any screws for putting jaws on here. So that's another reason why I have like a billion fasteners over there. There's always a project that needs something, whether it be screws, whether it be bolts, whatever. So it's just, that's why I've got so many over there. But yeah, I just used some panhead screws for this side. And then this side was a little trickier because you had to actually drill through the board and attach it into machine. These had machine screw thread in the actual metal. And so you had to have a specific machine screw thread. And again, why I have a horde of different bolts and screws and everything. I had a, over here, I found in my stash these machine screws. These are tapered machine screws, and they're a little bit short. I would have preferred something maybe a 1/4 inch longer, but these still worked. I cannot remember where I got these from. I did not buy these. They came from something that I took apart. And so I almost always save, especially when they're this nice, hardware for this exact reason. I did not have a single bolt or screw or anything in here that fit that thread until I found this. And this fit that thread perfectly. It's a flat, tapered screw, which works perfectly for this application. And so all I had to do was, you know, this is my little design that I drew out and tested. And so all I had to do was figure out where the holes needed to be, drill the holes through with my drill press over there, and then I came back through with, I think, 3/8 bore center bit, and just drilled that out so the head would fit. And that was like a little bit over halfway through the oak, and so then just screwed it in and it's good to go. So this is it's a pretty nice, I mean, it's not, obviously it's not the best bench vise, but it's better than not having one. And I did have one before. It was just not going to be this good for woodworking. I'll show you really quick where it's at. It's gonna live out here now because it's gonna be for like the small engine stuff now, which is gonna live right under here. So that's the one I had been using. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that one in there is gonna be better for woodworking. So, and I had it mounted a long time ago. I mounted it to that 2x12 so that it can just be easily like moved around, and then clamp the 2x12 down and it's solid. So, next thing. Oh yeah, and of course I cleaned off the bottom of this. There was stuff all over it before. Now it's fairly cleaned off. We'll see how long that lasts. You know how that goes. Okay, so the next thing is going to be this, which I did completely. A lot of the stuff came off of this and went into that room because it was like construction material or construction stuff, tools and things like that. So the bottom shelf, well, actually there was no bottom shelf before. What this is so this is just a one by material. I think it's 16 inches wide, solid piece. That I just put on there. It's not attached or anything. But the bottom, which is 2x, that was actually a plinth base that I made for something at some point, and then that something got taken apart and I kept the plinth base around. And so what I did was I repurposed it just to make a bottom shelf, a sort of bottom shelf, because you don't want paint cans and metal cans sitting directly on concrete. They will rust out. So what I did was I cut the stringers down to size so they fit perfectly in between those legs, and then just slid it in there, and then just threw that board on top, and I think a 1x4 in the back. Yeah, there's a 1x4 in the back. So there's just enough there to support all the stuff, and that's where all the paint cans are now. So that works. And then these are mineral spirits. So if you can use mineral spirits over and over and over again until it completely solidifies. And so that's what I do with these containers. Like, so say you use it to clean your oil-based paint out, it'll cloud up and get kind of nasty, and then you got to let it sit for a week. And so then I'll just use another one, use it, let it sit for a week, and it'll settle down. And so you can see how this one, it's got some solid stuff on the sides. It'll completely solidify 100%, and so you can keep using it until it does that. So that's what those jars are. And I've got another big bottle there with some partially used, but you can see it's mostly liquid. Hopefully you can see, it's kind of dark under there. But yeah, a couple tools there, a couple tools up here. This is all kind of reorganized. I built this shelf out of just scrap stuff that was around here, so just so that those would fit under there perfectly and give me a little bit extra storage on top. So, and then this top shelf, I also built a shelf out of some nice plywood. This is 1/2 inch plywood. I think it's birch plywood actually, so a little overboard for what this is, but it's what I had here. I didn't buy anything to build it, so but yeah, that was just a, adding this and adding some sides, and it slid so that it slid in here perfectly. I was gonna put a back on it. There's no back on it, but that didn't quite work out, so I didn't want to have to buy any wood to build this, so this just got some random screws and tools and stuff in here. Some hinges and some drawer slides, and this is some sandpaper stuff. So I haven't completely finalized this yet. This is just sort of for now. Things will migrate around, and they'll find their spots eventually. So this is just kind of laying the foundation, and then the rest will work itself out as I work in here. And then the very top is screw land, or screw and nail land, basically construction land up there. So anything from nail gun stuff to hand driven, screws, Tapcons, brad nails for exterior, deck screws, construction screws, all that crap's up there. That just seemed like the best place for it, because I was thinking, the more construction material I wanted out in that area, but then I got to the whole, well, I don't really want, screws in one place and in another place kind of thing. So, because then it's like, well, do these construction screws go out there? Because I kind of use those in here all the time, because you can see these are all construction screws for this kind of stuff. So I just put them all up there. So, and then they all fit, which was another plus. So the tool chests both got moved over here. That worked out pretty well. And then I also added 2 brand new lights up here instead of those. I think I had 3 spotlights up there, and my goodness, that made such a huge difference over here. Like, this was the dark area of the workshop. It was sort of like the neglected area of the workshop, because this whole table was against the wall. Now it's out and I can get to all sides of the table, so it's actually fully useful again. But yeah, this was kind of the neglected area, so it was darker and kind of made a big difference adding those 2 bright lights. And in fact, it makes the rest of the workshop now look like the dark area. So much so that I was thinking about adding more lights in here, but right now I don't want to spend any more money. So it is bright enough. I mean, it's decently bright in here. It's just this area looks super good. And I did locate the bandsaw here and drill press here. I have used both of them in this spot. This one I thought would be too tall where it's at. It actually works out really well, because kind of where it's at height wise is sort of like if you bought a really big floor standing one. This is kind of like the height that floor standing one would be. So it actually works pretty well being at this high. I also bolted it down, or bolted it through. I used a through bolt to the top so it wouldn't, bounce all around everywhere. The bandsaw did not, haven't needed it yet. We'll see about that. The belt sander is probably not going to stay in here, just because that throws out so much dust. I kind of want that out. Like, anytime I want to use this, I'm probably just going to take it outside and put it on. I've got a mobile workbench that's from DeWalt that works really well, and I may just do that, because you can put a vacuum on this thing and it does not matter. Like, you're going to have dust flying everywhere. And the dust collection on the bandsaw works extremely well. I mean, there may be some fine particles that come off from up here, but I'd say 95% of the dust does come out through that, so that's good. The drill press doesn't really do much. I mean, it'll make a mess like right around it, but it doesn't like throw dust and stuff everywhere too much, so that's not a big deal. Yeah, I think that gets us caught up to where I can start doing some other projects. I'm not sure what I'm going to start on quite yet. I've got several things that I've been wanting to start on, so we'll see. But This may or may not be the last video in this interior workshop series. We'll just see how it goes, and you know, play it by ear. But most likely it could be. Trying to think if there's anything else I missed. I don't believe so. So with that, I will thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for something. I don't know what's coming up next. It'll be a surprise for both of us. At any rate, I'll see you then. Take care.